Hello everyone, welcome to Michael L. Canis voiceover. I'm your host, Michael L. Canis, and welcome to my channel. And welcome to the very first episode of this channel, exclusively on Rumble and also YouTube. That's right, Rumble and YouTube. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm shaking a little bit because I'm so excited to do this for you guys. I've actually been talking about this for a couple weeks on my gaming channel, Command Wolf Gaming. And if you guys are coming over from my gaming channel, I do appreciate you guys dropping in and saying hi and listening to what I have to talk about. So now, on this first episode, I was debating on what I should be doing for this first episode, and I said to myself, well, that's a simple question, isn't it? Because I shouldn't do anything complicated. I should do a introduction. That's right. I'm going to be introducing you to myself, a couple of my works that I have completed so far, and what the channel is going to be all about, like what standards I'm going to set it to, and pretty much all that. And also, I'm also going to be doing a microphone test, and I will dive into the microphone phone test when we get to it. So let's get over to the introductions. Okay, introduction. So I am actually going to go over the introduction for myself before I do the channel itself, because I got to get into technical specifications as well. So we can talk about that in a little bit there. Not sure if you hear the birds outside my window, but that is really annoying. I'm going to try to keep this as raw as possible for those who are interested. It's so that you kind of hear me doing the raw, then I'll do like the fix at the end, or vice versa. Maybe I'll create a separate thing for you guys to listen to. I'm not sure. I haven't really decided yet. But let me get into myself. So I am Michael L. Canis. I currently have a 4.5 star rating for narration on Audible. I currently have completed 5 different audiobooks currently to date, which are The Witching Hand, The Chronicles of a Lad by Randall Weber, MRI, a short sci-fi horror story by Jason Anthony Pethley, Lovers of Dark Humor, Shadows Lurking by Hashblink and Thomas Sheriff, Canvas of Fate by Roger Huntman, and Dwarven Berserker by Mark Myers. Those are the current 5 books that I have completed as of this date. And currently, I'm actually auditioning for another one, and I'm in the second round for that. So hopefully by the time this episode gets up, I get that book as well, so that I can talk about it with you guys. Yeah. Anyway, so how did I get into voiceover work? It's actually kind of a weird thing to talk about, because I really wasn't... I guess it was somewhere between my sister and I talking about it and me actually working on my gaming channel, which is called Command Wolf Gaming. On that channel, I've actually talked about doing voiceover work. In fact, I've actually streamed myself doing some voiceover work and doing some like audio testings and stuff like that. And I kind of really said, you know what, I'm need to be more professional about this, right? So I got to get everything separated. I got to get everything in coordination and everything. So I created this channel off the Command Wolf Gaming. So yeah, and I basically fell into it, you know. So I fell into voiceover itself, and yeah, just I'm kind of open to everything. And now that I think about it, I've really been doing a lot of audiobooks, but I'm interested in doing video games. I'm interested in doing ads and other stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it for self-introduction. At least for right now. Maybe I'll update this at a later date. Who knows? Be prepared. Okay, so the introduction for this channel. So I want to do 4 things with this channel. 1 is going to be practice. 2 is going to be samples. 3 is going to be previews and advertisement. And 4 is going to be for hardware and software testing and specifications. And we'll dive into each one of these real quick here. So 1, again, for a practice. So like with everything else in the world, you got to practice, right? You got to practice playing baseball. You got to practice doing soccer. You got to practice your music and stuff like that. So this is what part of the channel is going to be about. It's going to be me practicing different tones, different accents, pacing, and like placement of sound and music, as well as practice singing. So it's going to be like a couple different things we're going to be doing. And I'm going to see what sounds best, what doesn't, and what I want to see what you guys like and think about that as well. Especially when it comes to like the music portion and also sound effects portion. And with that, I'm going to be like read a script. Not something that I'm working on, but something maybe I worked on in the past, or maybe a book or something like that, and I would implement sounds and music to it and see what you guys really think about this. And so that's going to be that. Next would be samples. Samples are things that I'm going to do kind of like previews, but not really previews. They're going to be of current works that I have completed. And just so it would not just be audiobooks. It would just be like maybe ads, video games, maybe characters from anime or from TV shows, cartoons. So it would be just kind of like an all-encompassing, like general category of samples that I can be like, yes, I have done this XYZ. Here is a link to a grouping of that, a playlist or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. Now, the next one is kind of like samples, but it's really previews and advertisement. Basically, with previews and advertisements, it's of current work that I am working on. Now, if I'm not under an NDA, I would be doing, like, let's say I'm covering an audiobook, right? Or I'm narrating an audiobook. So what I would want to do is basically advertise for it, especially for those who are interested in, let's say, fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, and it's that specific type of book. I can be like, hey, look, I'm doing this audiobook. Here's a preview of this section, right? And I would advertise that. So like, and again, and just kind of be on top of that. So it's not necessarily of stuff that I have completed, but stuff that I am working on, even if it's like a character voice, or if it's a, for an anime cartoon or video game or something like that. I'm sure with ads, I can't do previews for ads, but maybe for a movie, maybe I can be like, yes, I am doing this ad for our for a movie, or a TV show that's coming up or something like that, So, yeah, it's kind of like another broad category of things I would cover. So, 3, I forgot what 3 is. 3 was, so we covered that, and okay, I'm an idiot. I meant 4. So 4 is basically hardware and software testing, specifications, and stuff like that. Now, for those who don't stream, don't record, who doesn't do voiceover, and stuff like that, like really don't have a lot of stuff. Like, you don't need a super deluxe mic, you don't need like a mixer table and stuff like that. This is where I might lose some of you guys in regards to that. So, in fact, this is something we're going to be doing in a little bit with a microphone test. So, but yeah, basically, like if I get a new piece of equipment or new software, I'll be running a test and basically giving my opinion on it. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. So basically, any software or hardware that I might come across and might use, see how it works. And be like, okay, yeah, it works, it doesn't work, and what I find is the issue is, and what isn't the issue. So, yeah, that's pretty much the coverage on this. So let's actually get into the microphone testing. I do appreciate for those guys who are staying for this. So let's get right into it. Okay, so for the microphone test, here's what we're going to do. So I went on to ChatGPT and I got a small sample for a fantasy game lit setting, right? We're talking about, a couple lines here that we're going to read. We're going to read it on this mic. I'm going to provide a raw, and then I'm going to provide an edited version. Then I'm going to switch over to the other mic and do again, provide a raw and provide an edited version. Now, I am going to set my edited version to the ACX standards. When I mean ACX standards, ACX is a division of Audible, which basically they say, here's the standards that are good for our company, and that's what we're going to be testing against, right? So basically on ACX, you can go on the website. They have a audio lab where you can upload the stuff and it tells you what's wrong. But I use actually a individual software program called Second Opinion, which does the same thing. And let me tell you the standards that they have. So it's going to be in a decibel range when I get to this. So the minimum head and minimum tail length has to be 0 seconds, right? But the max head and max tail length is 5 seconds. Basically, at the beginning of the audio and end of the audio, it cannot exceed 5 seconds, right? Now, for a min to max RMS value in decibels, it has to go from negative 23 as minimum and at maximum negative 18 decibels. Then max floor value has to be a negative 60 decibel and max peak value at negative 3 decibels. So it can't exceed negative 3 decibels. Then we got the sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz. That's usually what audiobooks are set to for narration. So that's the standards we're going to work against. And yeah. So let me tell you a bit about the hardware that I'm going to be dealing with. So right now I use an Elgato Wave 3 USB microphone. And I'll be switching over to an Elgato Wave DX XLR microphone, as well as an Elgato Wave XLR audio mixer, right? Now, there is a clear difference between a USB mic and an XLR mic. A USB mic has everything built into it, and it plugs directly into your computer. So if you want to update it or upgrade or anything, you really can't. It still has a good quality. In fact, I use this on my Command Wolf Gaming channel, for content creation as well as streaming, and I've been using it for voiceover work as well, but I figured I do have a little bit of cash, so let me upgrade my microphone setup. And I decided to upgrade within the same company instead of getting something completely different and, just kind of being a little cautious about that, So USB mic plugs directly into a computer, but an XLR mic doesn't plug directly into the computer. In fact, you got to have a separate audio mixer or audio interface before plugging it into the computer. In fact, they have a 3-pin connection on the back that goes into the mic, and it goes into the mixer, and then it can get plugged into your computer. Now, the thing about XLR mics is that you can upgrade them, right? You can basically say, okay, I just want to change out the wire, or I just want to change out the audio mixer to something else. You can do that, and then you can upgrade your preamps, your interface. It's just, you can upgrade everything individually instead of having to basically get rid of your home mic and then get something else. Now, obviously with USB mics, they're more portable, they're more cheaper. They're just, it's cheap, it's cheap stuff, and it works. It works for a lot of people that do, streaming, content creation, and basically just playing video games. Like my buddy actually has, my buddy Frank, you guys would know from my streaming, he uses an Elgato Wave 3 microphone, right, at his desk. And my other buddy, Sin, he uses a headset microphone, but they're not doing content creation. That's something completely different. And with an XLR mic, it's gonna be a little bit more complicated. Just for the simple fact that obviously if I travel around and I need the microphone, I have to carry around an audio mixer. I got to carry around a separate cable. I got to carry around the microphone, and it's more expensive, obviously, because you're